Hello, I'm Nee West, and welcome back to European Goals, a podcast series telling the story of my trips across Europe in the search for top-level football and seeing what the cities can offer for the uncultured like me. It was still 2014, and the second trip of the year would take us to the capital of sunny Spain and the great Galacticos of Real Madrid. This time we would nip up the M5 North and fly from Bristol Airport via EasyJet, and just over a mere 2 hours later land at the Adolfo Suárez Madrid Barajas Airport, the second largest airport in Europe by size. Being only 12 kilometres from the centre of Madrid and having many transport links, we took the metro into the city. From the initial journey and subsequent trips both on public transport and on foot, it would become apparent this wasn't a city that particularly catered for the stereotypical Brit abroad, from the looks given by the smartly dressed Spanish-speaking Madrid locals to the pair of Ingles Prats in old t-shirts and shorts. The same unsure and strict welcome was given on arrival at our hotel by the stern, stony-faced receptionist, made even more happier when I returned seconds later when the door key card didn't work. Now I don't remember its name, maybe out of fear, so we'll call it hotels.com after the booking site. It was perfectly functional, if slightly falling apart, when the top of a stair came off when walking down it as if it was attached to my toe. I quickly tiptoed it back to its original position to try and paper over this crack. Hey, they did provide us with a basic breakfast, in the form of small delicious sweet cakes every morning. And this place did need a sugar coating. That might explain the chronic constipation too. Trying to avoid an explosion, and something that kept our stay entertaining on the TV, was quiz show Boom! Adopted from Israel, it sets 2 teams of 4 against each other, answering questions, which answers have a corresponding wire attached to a bomb. The aim to defuse and not blow it. Snip wrong, and yes, you've got it, boom, and the losing team gets showered in slime as the bomb explodes. Despite us being short in knowing the Spanish lingo, we still managed to survive a few rounds. It had a policy of winner stays on, which led to the show breaking a Guinness World Record of consecutive wins on a game show. Team Los Lobos reaching 300 in July 2018. Going on to surpass 500 shows and win an amazing accrued prize money equaling £5.9 million. Episodes can be viewed on free streaming app Tubi, and also buried in the Apple App Store you can find a quiz app. The show never made it to Britain's shores and ceased transmission in 2022, but I would urge any British broadcaster to revive it. It would detonate any current daily quiz show and blast them out of the water. That leads us nicely into this episode's City Summary. Millionaires, mansions, money, parks and gardens, squares, statues, roundabouts, statues in roundabouts, and of course, flamenco. So you're wondering what we did? Well, we wandered, exploring the park, squares and architecture. Funds were low after being a little rinsed by the cost of match tickets. Those darn third-party ticket sites are the only ones having the party. Firstly, the Plaza de Cibeles, a lively square named after the great mother of the gods and Roman goddess of fertility. There is a fountain at its heart of her riding a chariot drawn by two lions. It has been known to host Real Madrid's fan celebrations. Close by is the Cibeles Palace. This former Spanish post office building from 1909 now houses the city council. It is free to enter the building, but also contains paid exhibitions in its glass dome, an observatory deck, and also a chapel. The next building of interest near the Plaza de España is the Super Metropolis office building. Built in 1911, it has an iconic slate dome, encrusted with gold with a statue atop of it of Victoria rising, replacing its original phoenix. Then there is the Puerta del Sol, which to be honest is more semicircle than square, and could be called a junction where Madrid's roads begin. It has travel links to other parts, and would be the metro stop we arrived at. It was originally the site of one of the city's gates. At the start of the connecting and city's longest street, Calle de Alcalá, is the unique statue Oso Madranol, a statue of a bear nuzzling a strawberry tree. Continuing the fruity theme, it's said to be a tradition to eat 12 lucky grapes, as the clock of the Madrid government headquarters chimes strike 12, ushering in the new year. Finally, the Plaza Mayor, Grand Central or Main Square, full of places to eat, drink and get your souvenirs. Once known as the centre of Old Madrid, the heart of Habsburg, it has a famous arch, one of 9 arch entrances, the Arco de Cuchilleros, constructed after a huge fire in 1790 had destroyed the majority of the original square. Named after the knife makers that would supply the local butchers. The architect of the rebuild was Juan de Villanueva, who also in 1819 would build the Prado Museum. Seen as the home of Spanish painting, housing art from as early as the 11th century, and some of the most famous work being Las Meninas and the Seamstresses by Diego Velázquez, and many of the paintings and cartoons produced by Francisco Goya. Another prominent part of the art circuit was the theatre Teatro Fernán Gómez. Now the parks and recreation.
Fine.
For starters, we dropped by Descubrimiento Plaza de Colón, a garden themed around the discovery of America, and not a B-Day. Much bigger were to be found next. Outside and to the north facade of the Royal Palace was Sabatini Gardens, a former stables in the 1930s, transformed after the Spanish Civil War and known as the best place to be to watch the sun go down. The weather got a bit wet and parky, and so did we. Not stopping us from an energy boosting ice cream though. We visited El Retiro Park, 125 hectares, 15,000 trees, and awarded the UNESCO World Heritage status in July 2021. It contained many fountains and statues and a prominent boating lake if you fancy sticking your oar in. On one of the sides of the park, the Cecilio Rodriguez Garden. A more serene area, full of roses, but beware the peacocks that may chase you down its checkerboard promenade. Then on to the largest, and not named after the former Bolton and Real Madrid defender midfielder Ivan Campo, was Casa de Campo. Around since the mid-16th century, when King Philip II moved in, but not open to the public until the 1930s, it contains a zoo, aquarium and theme park. It's also the choice for the locals to run, cycle and swim in the outdoor pool, hence the venue for the city's annual triathlon, along with those that prefer the ball games of tennis and of course football. What better way of taking in a view of this vast place than via cable car? Thinking the best vistas would be from top down, we walked many a mile, heading west and across the river Manzanares, through Parc de West, to find the station, only to find it shut for maintenance. What a pair of spanners. To get a heads up on the Great Bernabeu, we decided to visit early and do the stadium tour and museum. A club with such history, and according to them having the best track record in the world, this would be a detailed and fulfilling trip. Even on arrival, the stadium was adorned with banners saying thank you and gracias Alfredo, in memory of the Real Madrid great Alfredo Di Stefano, who died on the 7th of July 2014, aged 88, having scored over 200 goals for the club across the 50s and 60s, and at one point holding the goal-scoring record for the European Cup. The stadium tour included the opportunity to be at pitch level, sit on the bench, and in the press room where you could pretend to be grilled by the strict Spanish media. The museum was full of old balls, boots and shirts. Many multimedia boards with sound and vision, along with a plethora of trophies. You could view the Ballon d'Ors of Di Stefano, Coppa, Luis Figo, England's own Michael Owen, and both Ronaldo's, Cristiano and Fat. Though I'm going to call it PH Fat, remembering how he destroyed Manchester United in the Champions League in 2003, coinciding with the infamous David Beckham incident where Sir Alex Ferguson's hairdryer blew a boot hitting Dave above the eye, and then him going on to join Real that summer. It would be a heady time for Real, celebrating La Decima, their 10th European Cup win after beating neighbours Atletico 4-1 after extra time in the final. Then also going on to secure the Super Cup after beating Europa League winners Sevilla 2-0. We would get an official photo taken with the glorious 10th Champions Cup trophy. With our budget constraints, our diet would consist mainly of beers and bites, and certainly what would become a recurring theme. Just for lunch, we would go to a local supermarket, pick up a baguette, some ham and cheese, chocolate bar, huge bag of crisps, and, if you're lucky, some fruit. We did visit a chain cafe called VIPs, which would end up meaning for us very important pennies saved. Being thirsty, and a coffee novice. Like an idiot, I ordered an espresso and a healthy portion of churros with chocolate dip. The hot sugary dough and tiny cup probably not helping quench the dry swell of my throat. Whether it was the sugar coma we were in, or the desolate barrenness of no one else being in the establishment, upon opening our wallets and trying to find the correct coinage, they picked out what they could and ushered us quickly out of the door, with the only tip being, "Don't come back, English pigs," as we tailed off to look for a water trough. Our Irish bar of choice this trip was Dubliners. Early in our travels we found this theme of pub would generally have the best football coverage to watch. We settled down with our bottles of Coronita Cerveza, Corona to me and you, named this in Spain at the time, meaning Little Crown, due to the fact the trademark for Corona was held by winemaker Bodegas Torres since 1907. As the match minutes ticked by, we found we were being plied with more and more baskets of progressively and suspiciously softer crisps. Now we all love a salty snack to go along with our pints, but we got to the point where we could chew no more of this clearly past its best before date snack. Certainly for Donny to turn down a potato product was unheard of. The Levante defence was just as soft as we watched Barcelona crunch them 5-0. The next night we would visit a bar closer to the hotel. Not so many TVs, but just as good a coverage. It would become clear the Spanish fixture list was as ruled by the media moguls as any other top-level European competition, with seldom a day passing without a game. This establishment had long bar tables with stools to perch on and would serve us the local beer Mahou Classica in ceramic mugs. This gave an authentic traditional taste of Madrid for a pint that's been around since 1890. Another one-sided result followed as we watched the then strong Valencia beat Getafe 3-0. Would this theme continue? As now for match day and our return to the Bernabeu. It was the 23rd of September 2014. Real Madrid versus Elche. We headed to the ground early, popping in for a quick browse in one of the nearby boutique shopping centres, El Corte Inglés, and finding a beer cart in the ever busier area surrounding the stadium. We were met by a shocked glare by the vendor as we both opted for a size grande to keep us going, with a "only the English and no one orders the grande" knowing look as he steadily handed us the rather flowing over flimsy plastic beer vessels. These would last us long enough to be lucky to see the team bus pull up and slowly snake its way through the rows of supporters and the terrific amount of impatient traffic being held. The Santiago Bernabeu is named after the legendary long-term president who presided over the club between 1943 to 1978 and has been home to the club since 1947. Holding over 80,000 people, it was the venue for the World Cup final in 1982, won by Italy. Finding the right vomitory, we were sick to know that we had paid double the standard €30 price for our tickets. More like ticket bastard. Our spirits were lifted by the tune of Van Halen's Jump playing over the sound system as sections of the ground started to fill up and would rise to 63,634 people. Once more, we would receive a free small magazine to look at the pictures of, called Media Punter, featuring player profiles, stats, and an interview with a referee. Elche's manager was Fran Escriba, a former winger as a player, and Elche was his first big management job after being appointed in 2012 from being Madrid rivals Atletico's assistant manager. Real's manager would raise no eyebrows. Carlo Ancelotti. Carlo, one of the greatest and most decorated managers of all time, would be in his first stint as Real manager and who had managed Chelsea between 2009 and 2011, winning a domestic double in 2010, being the first team to score over 100 goals in a Premier League season, and upon getting sacked in May 2011 would finish having the third best win percentage in Premier League history, behind only Jose Mourinho and Sir Alex. He would go on to also manage Everton between 2019 and 2021, signing 2014 Madrid player Colombian James Rodriguez.
Unfortunately, I cannot have a control of my height.
The only Elche player with an English link is Mario Pasalic, a Croat who spent 6 years at Chelsea from 2014 to 2020 and didn't play a single game. A familiar story. This was his first of 5 loans, which took him on to France, Italy, Russia, and then Italy again, where his career has flourished in Bergamo with Atalanta. Real's starting lineup would include more familiar names. Keeper Keylor Navas would play on loan for Nottingham Forest in 2023. Rafael Varane with Manchester United 2021 to 2024, and as mentioned just earlier, James for Everton in the 2021 season, playing in a front three with golfer Gareth Bale. The former Southampton youngster and Tottenham great who signed for Real in 2013, leaving of course the machine that is Cristiano Ronaldo, who joined Real from Manchester United in 2009. Both players latterly returning to their former English teams on loan and hitting around a none too shabby 1-in-2 goal ratio. The bench would include former Liverpool fullback Alvaro Arbeloa, who Real re-signed, and on loan Manchester United striker Chicharito, Javier Hernandez, both going on to play for West Ham. Also warming the bench, Luka Modric, another Spurs and Croat legend Real signed in 2012. No FIFA game finds this time, but we'll throw in Nacho, just because I'm feeling a bit peckish. A Real stalwart from youth, this defender would finally succumb to the lure of Saudi cash, and last year joined Al Qadisa. Let the game begin, and Elche had not read the script. Real would begin the game on top, as would be expected. Toni Kroos drilling the ball just wide of the left-hand post from the edge of the area. Then in the 7th minute, shock. Penalty to Elche. Ronaldo of all people attempting to whack the ball clear in the Real area, mistiming and making contact with the Elche player Edu Albacar. Elche's number 6 Pedro Mosquera stepping up and beating Navas with a well hit left-footed penalty high to the keeper's left. It wouldn't take Real long to draw level. In the 22nd minute, James, in loads of space on the right side, swung in a left-footed ball for Gareth Bale to ghost in and head into the bottom right of the goal. Elche's keeper, Manuel Carrera, would be disappointed as it was neither powerful or in the corner, almost going straight through his hands. In the 30th minute, Real would then go ahead through a penalty of their own. A very soft award, with Marcelo going to ground after little or no contact with an Elche boot. Ronaldo drove the penalty hard into the top right corner. The keeper went the wrong way, but would have had no chance. 2-1. At this point, we had a feeling we'd hear that Real Madrid anthem a few more times. And just 4 minutes later, this is what we had come to see. Quality from the Galacticos. Marcelo would make up for his suspect acting skills by swinging in a superb cross from the left touchline that Ronaldo, being one of the best jumpers in football, powered a header into the bottom left corner, celebrating with his trademark Shield celebration, named after the lady that knits his jumpers. Just kidding, it simply means yes, and was born after Ronaldo won the Ballon d'Or in 2014. 3-1 at half-time. Real would just toy with Elche until the last 10 minutes. In the 83rd, 4-1, and another soft penalty award. A stumble from Pasalic and allegedly clipping Ronaldo's heels, Cristiano belting the ball past the keeper's right hand, right into the inner side netting, completing Ronaldo's 25th hat-trick for Real. There was still time for Real to add a fifth. In the 92nd minute of injury time, Bale sauntering through a tired Elche defence, threading it through for a fourth Ronaldo goal, dispatching easily past the keeper with the outside of his right foot. La Liga would become a two-horse race that season, with El Clasico rivals Barcelona pipping Real to the title by 2 points, and the only further silverware won by Real was the unwanted Christmas present that is the Club World Cup in December, beating San Lorenzo of Argentina 2-0 in the final. Poor Elche would finish a creditable 13th in the league, only for that credit to be taken away when they fell foul of the Spanish taxman and were relegated by La Liga for unpaid tax debts. We travelled home satisfied our goals were met, and learnt to be careful who in Spain you come into contact with, as you might just pay the penalty. Many thanks for listening, and don't go changing the channel. Next time we'll be crossing it as we fly off to France. Salut.